no kinak semdol ka ke mofa seda.
Welcome to Talking in Stations, a podcast about EVE Online. I am your host, Matterall. Cue Carneros. Carneros. Carneros froze, but he's smiling, so we'll just keep him there. It's like we stuffed him and stuck him in a chair. All right, welcome to Talking in Stations. We're going to be talking a lot about nullsec today, in that some developments have happened in the South between Legacy Coalition and Winter Coalition. We're going to be joined by Dinkle in a minute to talk a lot about oh, wow, that's cool. I've got like Star Trek half face. One's black, one's white. Let's just lean over to the white side. And then if I want to be evil, I'll move over to the dark side. So we lost connection with one of our guys. He'll be back in a second. I am going to lean over here because I don't like seeing there. Thanks for taking that off. We haven't had this much technical fun since, I don't know when. So this is perfect for a season finale. Reminds us how much work it is to get it right the first time. Why did I do this? All right. All right. Carneros is back, at least on voice.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. We're having some fun with it.
My router just chose to reset itself.
An unexpected update. All right. Well, it would have behooved us to wait just a few more minutes and then have that happen offline. But here we are. So let's actually. So we're going to talk about the NIP and its disintegration a little bit later in the show, just a few minutes. We'll talk about a big battle that's going to happen today in Kamal. So seems to be something going on there. And then we'll also talk about just basically review this last show and the season, what's happened during the season, and it started in January. Then we'll take a couple weeks off, and we'll be back after that to do season 2.
Nice recovery. Nice recovery.
Yeah, look at that. We're back. All right.
I'm Carneros.
Let's pick it up there. Excellent. All right. Dunk's going to join us in a bit, and we're going to talk about this really great get-together we had. Carneros was at it. I was at it. McLeod kind of put it together. He picked some place called the Guild Hall, which is a bar that is like a sports bar, but for video games. So it's got like a lot of high nerd value. And we took over a room in the back there and sat around, ordered food, and swapped stories. But you also had some great people. Lady Scarlet was there. Gobbins was there. The Pope, Max Singularity was there. Lancaris was there. All the people from Los Angeles. So it was good. It's a good meetup. We'll cover that a bit later. Might as well cover that with Dunk if he shows up, right? All right, cool. So we'll go into some news first. And I think the big news happened really just a few hours ago when, an incident happened that had Vili respond by saying the NIP, the non-invasion pact, is over a week early. So we'll talk about that now. But first, I want to welcome the guy in charge of test, military wing. I think you probably share that with somebody else. How are you doing, Vili?
I'm doing well.
How does that work? Are you co-senior FC or something? What's your actual position there?
It's a good question. Position titles are not as important necessarily as they need to be within test. Generally, if there's a military decision to be made, myself and ProGod will usually discuss it, and we'll come to a decision, and that's generally how it goes.
And is test run by civilians, let's say, or are you two the tribunals of it?
That's a fair way to say it. Perhaps we're like a prehistoric Rome, where there is a senate, let's say, of people which are in high command. Sapo and Ran and the crew. But the military tribunals generally have say in wartime. So, being that it's wartime all the time, it helps a little bit in terms of getting things done. But we in a way still answer to people, so it's an interesting dynamic to say the least.
Now, how does that differ from the Legacy Coalition? You guys both run the Legacy Coalition as well?
Well, Test is the head of the Legacy Coalition, almost by default. It's I mean, yeah, we make the final decision, I guess you could say, if something's going to happen. But we give Legacy kind of a broad envelope of what they can choose to do for the most part. Generally, our goal has always been to let Alliance develop as they're going to develop, and just provide them the opportunity to do so safely, which is something you really need in Eve. You need kind of the balance of both safety and difficulty. And I don't know if the model we've kind of worked with is the correct one, but it's the one we kind of pursue in trying to give everyone the opportunity to grow up a little on their own, but also while there's kind of a big dad next door that can beat the shit out of somebody if they come try and bully the shit out of you.
So, okay, basically the two military tribunals, you guys discuss things and you figure out how you're going to keep your guys active. And then there's kind of there's a CEO or exec, I guess, and you have a diplomat and you have these guys that help kind of run things in peacetime or whatever. Does that sound about right?
That sounds pretty close to correct. I mean, the reality is to run a military and to be an alliance leader in Eve is a job that is generally way too much for one person, especially if you have any level of real life responsibility. So obviously there's a situation where the responsibility has to be split up. Otherwise it would not work.
Yeah. And do you get to take time off, by the way?
In what way?
Like, do you take, like, say, I'm going to take a break here, ProGuard, you take it for a while?
To a degree. You still have to ensure that you're around when you need to be around, and there's definitely opportunities to take a break, but not necessarily, I'm going to take a vacation for 3 months just because I need to, or just because I want to. It generally is much more a situation where, like, for example, I think around December, January this year, I kind of just faded into the background for quite a while. I needed a break, I guess you could say.
After a big year, yeah.
So I took one, and that was kind of it, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Depends on your definition of a break. I sometimes feel like I have to tell my group even if I'm just going to take a couple hours and go watch Captain Marvel. It's crazy.
All right, well, let's get into what's going on right now. What you've had this non-aggression pact for how long?
I don't know. It's 6 months, so 175 days.
Yeah. And what were the circumstances before this NIP went into effect?
Well, before the NIP went into effect, we were just at the end of the Summer War, and we were pushing hard on Fraternity and all of Amencia, Tenerife, and Detroit. And we were just making their life a living hell, I guess you could say. At the time, we were significantly larger than them in all time zones, and we were just exacting our revenge, I guess you could say, for the participation of Fraternity during the Summer War.
Right. So you're beating on them, and you guys, for some reason, sign an NIP. Why did that come about? What was so agreeable about that?
Well, they paid us a whole lot of money. And on top of that, as much as people like to view in just the external just the external view. Internally, we were very tired at that point, and our financial resources at the time did need an opportunity to recover. So, we were given a situation where we had the opportunity to make some money and put everything on pause for a while and go deal with some other problems, of which there were a variety of them. So we took that opportunity, we signed a NIP, took some money, and here we are now, 6 months later.
Okay, so there has been relative peace. This allowed you to do an expedition up north into Horde territory and also go in and displace I Choose You in the perimeter area. And that's what you've been doing in the meantime. And now this NIP is almost up, and tensions have been slowly getting stronger and stronger. And then what happened recently, because some events have happened before the NIP is officially over.
So there's a variety of events that have taken place. Red Alliance joining XIX's Russian coalition, and they had kind of the stated intent to displace Fraternity, which really, set Fraternity into a panic kind of situation. At that point, they wide-audited in Black Legion. They, got Skill Yourself firmly on board with them. So they set up their defensive kind of compact and, got their defenses in order. Then at the same time, we decided to do nothing really. Like we just kind of let it all happen. We had talked to Norris. We said, listen, we're not planning on invading you, but certainly there's going to be some content on the border. It's going to be stuff happening. And he wasn't super thrilled with that, but that's just part of the reality of Eve. At which point, the tensions have continued to boil as they continue a kind of defensive build up on our border, and we obviously continue a build up on our border. So, it's very much kind of a Cold War kind of situation where both sides are staring at each other, waiting for what was this agreement to end. We, of course, were in a situation where it would have ended 5 days from now on March 22nd. But last night, Black Legion, or Fraternity's Origin Wing, came into Immensia and covered the onlining of a hostile structure to us by default or by accident. It doesn't really matter. And, allowed that structure to online, going after the fleet that was killing it, basically. Which is a pretty clear violation of every NIP I've ever seen. And thus we were like, all right, well, we're not going to waste our time anymore then. And we ended the NIP.
So it is officially over as far as you're concerned.
It is over. Like it's like once we say it's over, it's over. There is no, as far as I'm concerned, it's over.
There's no negotiating. It's you agree to it. You can disagree with it, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. I reached out to Naros to see what his reply was and if he could be on the show. Unfortunately, he has real life thing that he's doing. He has basically said the reason Vili put up the narrative he is trying to make is, disagreeable to him. I don't know if I should quote, but yeah, he disagrees with the idea that the NIP was violated. But if Vili wants to start early, then so be it, essentially.
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. If we deem it's over, it's over. And we had a pretty clear violation from what we could see. So that doesn't really leave us with any other choice. When it happened, we had 4 FCs on comms at the time, I should say, and every single one of them was like, whoa, they're violating the NIP, da-da-da-da-da. And, it was a pretty clear identifier to everyone there. So it happened, it's done, the NIP's over.
All right. I would expect that hostilities would begin right away, but that's not necessarily true.
Well, there's nothing really to be hostile about. As much as the NIP is over and thus, different forms of content and attack can begin, there's no particular strategic goals here, aside from fucking with each other. We don't particularly want Fraternity space. Fraternity, as far as I'm tracking, probably doesn't particularly want ours. Last I checked, their primary goal was to get us to sign another NIP with them so they could go back to farming in peace. So we'll see if that stays true or not.
Okay, so basically the chains are off, but that doesn't mean that fights are going to start right away. It just means there's no agreement in place.
Other than that hostile structure they just dropped.
Well, my guess is, like, they're claiming it was a Hard Knocks alt corp, and it probably is. Like, it doesn't particularly matter. You know, it'll finish its onlining in 4 days and we'll kill it. It's just a raideroo. But, the thing is, you can't, like, between any, non-invasion pact, non-aggression pact, whatever you want to call it, there's almost always very clearly stated you can't involve yourself in structure or soft timers, right? Like, Fraternity hit some soft timers in Wicked Creek a few days ago, and our guys wanted to go and shoot their fleet that was doing it, even if we had nothing to do with the Entosis efforts. But you have to put a stop to it and say, no, you're not allowed to do that because you can't involve yourself in your enemy's soft or strategic level timers. So they did get themselves involved in one of ours, and that's a clear violation of the NIP, and so it ends.
And so there it is. Non-invasion pact is over. There's no agreement in place between Legacy and Winter Coalition, and tensions are high along their border regions. There's also Russian contingency that moved in. Did they ask you for permission, the Russians, before they moved in?
In what way? Like, we've been working with XIX for, better part of a year now. So, do you mean with regards to Red Alliance, or do you mean with, like...
Yeah, with Red Alliance joining them and...
I wouldn't say they asked permission. You don't necessarily ask permission of friends, but, they told us about what was happening, and we were, for the most part, okay with it. They're taking in some people that traditionally we haven't been the friendliest with, and that was a little concerning at times, but they seem to have mostly everybody on the same page, so it wasn't a giant...
Well, that's what was interesting, is that you're not necessarily friends with Red Alliance, right?
Traditionally, we have not been friends with Red Alliance, and it's funny, actually, to say that, because the primary reason we were not friends with Red Alliance is because they used to violate the NIP we had between Test and Red Alliance in the exact way that broke this NIP, which is that they would, get Stain residents to come and toast us our stuff, and then they would kill the gangs that would come to defend it, which is, a violation of the NIP. Unfortunately, at the time, we needed the NIP with Red Alliance to leave our renters alone in the back areas at that time more than... we needed that NIP, effectively, or we wanted it more than we were willing to put up. So we were willing to put up with it, but it made us hate Red Alliance quite effectively.
Oh, so interesting. All right, let me quickly introduce Dunk Dinkle. How's it going, Dunk?
Oh, I'm doing good this morning. Just typing in chat here.
Thanks, Dunk. Everybody knows, but I'll tell you anyway, he's from Legacy Coalition as well.
He's from Brave Newbies.
From Brave Newbies. How's it looking for you guys?
You mean with a possible war looming? Or
yeah, are you guys excited about the prospects?
I think everybody's excited to go have fights. I think those of us that have been through some major wars before are a little more hesitant to leap in with everything. But, for a lot of the players who haven't been in some of the huge battles and, real back and forth war, it's a very exciting time to get ready. They've been mining and prepping and ratting to get ready for this. So I think there's a lot of people eager to go blow stuff up.
That's cool. We want to talk about the meetup that you put together, the impromptu meetup in Los Angeles, but we'll do that a little bit later. First, we want to talk a little bit more with Vili about the NIP is now over between Legacy and Winter Coalition. Is there anything else that we need to know about the next few months, Vili?
Is there anything you need to know?
Is there anything we should look for?
I don't know, entertainment. We have a border where there's two entities that are able to fight each other. They have lots of fleets and lots of caps and lots of objectives. So it's a great opportunity for Eve to kind of showcase itself and for people on both sides of the border to have some fun. I don't think it's a negative thing in any real regard. I think you have an opportunity to improve the game.
Let's play with like predictions a little bit, if you don't mind. If Winter Coalition and you actually Legacy start engaging in fights in the area, Winter has some basically some allies, right? Like Skill You, and then there's also the possibility of Horde maybe helping out.
Certainly, yeah.
What factors would precipitate you bringing in the Imperium again and reforming the Imperial Legacy?
The entirety of the galaxy banding against us again. You say, you're gonna bring in the Imperium. It's like the Imperium goes where the Imperium wants to go. You don't really go, whistle. I can't whistle very good. And like the dog, like, roof, roof, I'm coming. It's like they go where they want to.
Well, anytime there's fighting starts, right? Right now, there's a lack of a bunch of significant combat around the map, and people are attracted to that. They want to get in on it. So people are going to come in. If there's real fight starting, people are going to want a third party, and then third partying usually turns into siding with one or the other. So I expect if this really kicks off as big as it could get, that everyone's going to come in and choose a side. And it'll be lots of explosions, and I'll sell lots of capital modules. So stock up now.
All right. So, what aside from the stuff that's going on in the South, where we may see in the future, if we're looking at what could possibly happen, other entities drawn into it, at least to third party as well. So we're going to look at that with anticipation in the next few weeks. What's going on in Perimeter and in HiSec? Is there anything going on there?
No. I Choose You hasn't anchored a new harassment citadel in a few days. Perimeter is very quiet, pleasant, great market. Suggest you all use it.
And have new changes helped out at all with CCP changing some things?
Yeah, it's helped a little bit, I think. The price of Plex is very high, though, right now. I encourage you all to spend your real money on Plex to drop it for all the rest.
Yeah, and do it at your Trinity Tower or Tranquility Tower.
Yeah, that was one of the topics of discussion yesterday at the meetup was the economy. If a real war kicks off, usually with the cloaky camping and all that stuff, production drops down, and then you have these nerfs to Rorquals coming, and then on top of it, the Plex price is sky high. So I need someone who studied economics to explain like what's going to happen. But definitely the economy in the next couple of months will be a roller coaster.
Well, and you've got a lot of factors piling up on each other now, too, slowing down the speed at which the new sites are spawning, reducing the defense of the Rorquals so they're easier to kill, reducing the defense of the excavators, which were already basically water balloons, and making them easier to kill, and then reducing how much they can mine. I expect to see the flood of minerals coming in to slow down, and likewise the flood of ISK faucets to slow down a little bit as well. And that should affect the price of Plex and bring it down just a little bit.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I can't make a big prediction. I just know that all those factors come into play, multivariable stuff. Who knows how it's going to end up. It seems like there's going to be an opportunity for some little bit of stuff craziness in the market. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
What are your thoughts, Vili? You had another thought.
Well, my concern would be that a lot of the nerfs they've enacted in this patch are very much ones that are countered by simple N+1. So if they reduce, 5 Rorquals by 20%, then you just add one more Rorqual to get right back up to where you were. And those Rorquals are generally paid for by Plex. And thus you can end up in a unfortunate situation where, the price of Plex continues to increase. Is that how it will go? I don't know either, right? It's a very complex, complicated situation, and the fact that they nerfed multitudes of different botting styles, from VNIs, which are notoriously common botters, to Gillas. Like, there's a lot of the core income generation ships that just got nerfed in this patch, carriers as well. So I'm very curious as to how this is all going to play out, but it would not shock me at all if every single region's MER is down starting next month. I will make a wild prediction that Delve will still be the #1 region, but I would even possibly Delve will be.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy prediction, man. You're going out on a limb.
I know.
In the meetup yesterday, we were talking about the fact that I was talking about my theory that Plex actually has a fairly stable price, and it's not going up and down. It's actually the value of ISK has been dropping because there's so much of it on the in circulation right now, and so that's had the effect of making Plex look more expensive against ISK. And if we could raise the value of ISK, that it will therefore make Plex look slightly more affordable for if you're purchasing it with ISK.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad observation to make. I think, like the mechanics behind how the economy and EVE work are so complicated, and there's so many different factors. It's impossible to ever know what exactly is going to be the end result of any change when it comes to the economics. Usually, I mean, some of them are obvious, but most of them.
Yeah, so we're getting reports your mic is coming in and out, so we're losing it. We'll fix it for the podcast, but you might want to, I don't know if it's voice activated or something, work with the sensitivity. Or we'll brand TIS style microphones and send them to our special guests that give us so much information all the time. Okay, another thing that's going on, as we heard, there's these changes that are coming in April that are going to basically make ISK generation slow down a little bit, especially with Rorquals and ratting too, I think. But let's go over to Kamal. There's going to be a big fight in Kamal later today, in actually just a few hours, I think in about 3 hours. Anybody know what's going on there?
Remind us what region Camal is in and who owns the Keepstar and things like that. It's on its final timer, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yeah. So Kamal is in, I believe it's, what? Is it Derelict?
We never go there.
I don't think it's Derelict. Am I wrong about that? I'll check it out right now. I thought Kamal was by...
it's in Derelik.
Damn, I lost that one. All right, McLeod, you get a couple dollars. So the Kamal Keepstar is owned by a group called, I don't actually want to say their name, but Purple.
Oh, don't say it then.
Yeah, the Purple guys. And the Purple guys are kind of like XPL. They're affiliated with PL in some way or another. And their Keepstar was reinforced by Snuff, and then further reinforced through the shields, through the armor timer. And so now today is the final timer. And we're wondering who is going to participate in this fight to take it down, and is it going to be defended? Because essentially you have Snuff taking on PL. That's being very, very loose with the truth there, but essentially those are the two sides. Well, last night we got reports that Initiative was on their way, moving a lot of, I think it was a super fleet, so it might be Titans, and that would help Snuff, because Snuff and Initiative are allies, take out the Kamal Keepstar. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen to defend it. We don't know if Horde will be there or anybody else for that matter. Is this something, Vili, that you know about that might concern you guys at all, since it's not that far from where you are?
Yeah, we're tracking it.
Do you have any? Any thoughts on what do you think will happen?
There's a whole lot of people showing up. There's going to be a whole lot of tie-dye.
So you think people are coming? It will be defended.
There's lots of people coming.
Are you going to third party it, or are you going to come in on a certain side?
Last I checked, we were showing up to help defend it. So
now that's interesting. You would help defend it, and I think Horde would probably help defend it. But is this because you and Snuff have bad blood between your two groups?
That would definitely be a component of it, yeah.
Can you remind us why you guys are, I guess, enemies? Tell us what happened.
You're just trying to tease it out of him.
I just want to remind people who are kind of catching up with events, like why Legacy or
to say that Snuff are, enemies would not be accurate. I have a personal beef with one of the leaders of Snuff over a verbal disagreement we had, or words that were taken in one way and not taken the other way. So obviously that's it's just a factor. The reality is the Kamal Keepstar is in a part of space that we would consider friendlier to us, and people moving in and exerting their influence in there without talking to us is usually taken as a kind of situation where it's like, oh, okay, and we'll see, and we'll go from there.
So this is your sphere of influence, and you need to be involved.
I would think so.
Yeah, but to defend is interesting because do you have any kind of agreement or awareness of the purple guys that own it?
Yeah, we've made multiple deals with them and talked with them many times over the years.
Okay, all right, that makes a lot of sense. Was I accurate that they're former PL or something?
So the original Wrecking Crew was a break off of PL that was kind of their super hunter group. But about 2 years ago, they kind of I think the break off was 3 years ago. And from then on, they've mostly been their own independent entity, and they've kind of moved away from whatever remains of Pandemic Legion now, which isn't much. So I think it's unfair to kind of brand them with that wand anymore. My dealings with them have been pretty obviously they have a history or I don't know what you would call it. They're an origin that comes from there, but to affiliate them with that by default now seems a little unfair.
Yeah, it's too long and too far apart for. But it was the Wrecking Crew. I remember the Wrecking Crew and the purple guys being basically in some way related, and of course, Wrecking Crew is a former part of PL. All right, so this is a fight. This is going to be a huge fight around a Keepstar. The Keepstar is going to either live or die based on this fight. And it all happens 21:30 Eve time in Derelik.
Yay.
So I think actually by the time the podcast listeners hear this, the fight might already be decided. But for those watching live, you still have a chance to catch it. And that system is Kamal in Derelik if you want to check it out. Maybe we'll try to go live to it. All right. Let me switch over to Dunk here. And can you tell us about the meetup?
Sure. We had a meetup yesterday. It was in a bar that's literally an esports bar called the Guild Hall in Burbank. And when you go into the bar, it's a full-on bar with restaurant and everything like that. And but up on the wall is, I don't know, about a dozen monitors tied into Twitch streams, and they'll put up any kind of esport you want. So usually it's like Fortnite, Apex Legends, but we had them put up Eve streamer. I think it was Miss Moses was up, and I think about 10 to 15 people showed up. All different groups were there. Everyone had a great time, it seems like. I drank a lot. I'm glad I Ubered, and I wound up with a minor hangover about 10 o'clock at night last night.
Wow. It didn't even wait till morning. Carneros, you were there.
I had a great time. I didn't have a hangover though, but I took it easy. Had a couple glasses of wine. It was great fun. Had a great time.
So, who were some of the people that were there?
Well, let's see. There was Test, Pandemic Horde, Rorqual, whom I invited to come on a roam through Fountain and PvP with us sometime. So that would be fun. There was Theron Alliance. There was Bastion and NC Dot and Brave Newbies. His Holiness Max Singularity the Sixth, the first of his name, was there. The Space Pope. Who am I missing?
Horde.
Pandemic Horde. Gobbins was there. There were a couple more people. There was a guy from the Initiative there. That was great fun. I didn't have to represent the Imperium all by myself.
That was a good group. There was, but of these groups, you had like Lady Scarlet from NC, which it's interesting because it's one thing to talk to members of an alliance. It's another thing to talk to leadership of an alliance. They have completely different things to say. So it was really interesting to listen to some of the stuff she was talking about. And of course, you had Gobbins there, who's always interesting to talk to about the game in general. But also, he's just a really friendly Italian guy. He's very likable. You had Max Singularity, who's, of course, very interesting. And you had Lancaris, too, from, gosh, I forget the show now, Cap Stable podcast a long time ago. He was hanging around, at least in the beginning. Dunk, this came up really quick, right?
Yeah, I had been thinking about doing a meetup there for a while, and it just so happens this weekend my family was out of town, so I didn't have those kind of normal commitments. So I think Wednesday, I was like, okay, let's do it, and a bunch of people showed up. So I think, if you're sitting out there and you're like, hey, they don't do them in my town, it's not that hard to kind of announce it, help get it circulated in social media, and people will show up. And that was a pretty good show up for the first time we were there. I think everyone agreed it was a good place to have them in the future. So I think for pretty much everyone out there, if you want to have your own meetup, look, I started this on Wednesday and got it circulated, posted it on a bunch of Discords and Slacks, and people showed up and had a good time. And it's very friendly, a lot of fun, especially being in a video game bar. The we're strange nerd factor was not there. Everyone was very welcoming. And, if you're considering it, just go for it. People will show up, and it's a great time.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. I had a friend who's like trying to meet up, and I said, I'm kind of busy this weekend, but if you want to meet me at this bar, I'm gonna be meeting with some friends from a hobby thing that I do. And he's like, all right, I'll go meet you there. And I didn't expect him to say yes, but I also didn't expect him to arrive early. So I arrived I was hauling Gobbins with me because he lives near me, and we end up arriving, and there's my friend who's totally being told what Eve is. So it was kind of funny.
He rolled with it really well.
I did, right?
Surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried. I was like, oh.
Well, I think the other thing that's really neat about it is, when you're there in person, right? A lot of the online r/eve kind of, shit posting goes away, and you're all just players of the same game. You're having fun. People of enemy groups are sitting there next to each other, having a good time. I think it was Garrick of Rorqual who bought us all a round of shots.
Oh.
It's really fun when you're there with people that you can be enemies in the game, and you can have a lot of fun and chat, and it's a very pleasant time when you're there in person. So again, I can't recommend enough trying to get people together in your local area, and it really makes the game feel so much more real when you see the people behind the characters and stuff like that.
Let's see that pic, McLeod, if you can shove it on screen and we can point out Dunk there in the background. He's very far back. And there on the right is a smiling Carneros with his
Glass of
Nice
wine.
haircut. I noticed it. I said something.
Dude.
And there in the foreground on the left is my friend in the blue shirt, who's a workmate of mine, who came by, and he was like, again, rolling with it and having a good time. And then the hands there are
That's Bill.
That's Bill, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's not Lady Scarlet, but she's right there too. So yeah, we're talking to Lady Scarlet, listening to her on one side of the room, and on the other side of the room you can see Dunk talking to, and that's Gobbins on the right next to the little guy in the white shirt next to Carneros.
In the background a little bit.
Yeah.
So you see Carneros and then Gobbins in the back. And then the guy from Test next to me, I can't remember his name.
Right. Good
Gobbins
time.
isn't little. He's just normal sized.
A miniature one. Anyway, that was a lot of fun, and I hope it happens again. It was a little more reasonable than the Pasadena one. That's harder for me to get to. But I think the special treat there was Lady Scarlet and Carneros coming up 2.5 hours from San Diego.
Yeah, that
thank you.
Definitely, a big effort for them. I really appreciate them coming up and showing up, and then it was good. There was a bunch of swag given away. There was a lot of the good stickers that Lady Scarlet brought. The "I'm friends with Matterall," which I'm going to use to get out of jams later on.
Get out of jail, because it really works. It really. Actually, what's really funny, if you haven't seen this, and I'll have to put it in the show notes, is Manic Velocity is caught and dead to rights. Like he's gonna get blasted by this guy that's caught him, and he's streaming live, and he writes, "I'm Matterall." The guy's like, "Really?" And he totally lets him live, and it was hilarious. And I thought, like, well, Manic is a funny guy, and he can certainly set up this kind of humor. So I said, was that real? And he wouldn't answer, but I think it was real, because it was just, you could tell by the just how weird it was, but it was very funny. So it is a get out of jail card. It wasn't for me. So when I try to use that line with Snuff didn't let me out of jail. All right, so this second part of the show, Vili, we let go because he was going to get ready for some things. And this next part is really more about Talking in Stations and Season 1. And we want to kind of go over the last, basically 3 months. We've done 22 shows. That is our first season, and this is the finale. This is the last show that we'll have in this first season. But we'll take a couple weeks off only and start Season 2. And essentially, we're going to have 4 seasons in 1 year. And that's how we've done it, so that we can take breaks and give McLeod a break too. McLeod, why don't you join us on audio for this part?
Yay, I'm free.
Yeah, come out of that box. Looking back,
finale, we should have like fireworks and exotic dancers or giveaways or something.
I know. Well, it's like we're sliding into home here without any fanfare.
Well, I mentioned the giveaway, but to Carneros, but he was like, "No, I need that for my Leviathan."
Okay, we'll do a giveaway. I'm going to give away a Rorqual.
Ooh.
Let's do that. Yeah, I'm going to give away a Rorqual, and then I'm going to give away 2 Rorqual blueprints in case somebody wants to build a Rorqual. Of course, this is probably the worst time, right? Because the Rorqual is just getting nerfed, and the skill book doubled in price. But we're going to do that right now. I'll give some people a chance. I'm not going to pick the winner. Somebody will pick it, but then I will contract a Rorqual to you, and then we'll pick 2 more winners, and we will contract blueprints to them in Jita.
Yeah, I'll see if I can sort out the giveaway bot to come into the show. And I'll sort out a window, like 3 random winners. It won't have anything to do with whether you're subscribed or whether you've given anything to us in any way, shape, or form. Because that is against CCP rules.
Yeah, we don't want anything for this. It's just like if you're here and listening, well, this is kind of bad because if you think about it, the podcast listeners don't get in on this sort of thing, which I don't like. The podcast listeners are valuable. In fact, we have hundreds of people who watch us live. We have maybe 500 to, 1,000 people that watch videos on demand, which is basically either on YouTube or on Twitch later. But really, we have like 2,500 people that listen to the podcast after that. And those guys are the ones that are usually the Patreons and the ones that, write me and say, really love the show. Thank you for making my commutes better or my driving better and that sort of thing. So definitely want to do something for them and not just do giveaways here and now. So I'll tell you what we'll do. End of season 1, we're going to give away a Rorqual to our live people and a couple of blueprints. For our podcast listeners, and by the time we leave this show, we'll have to figure out how people can get into this raffle or whatever. I'm going to give away a Titan. I'm going to give away an Avatar Titan. At the end of this show, we're going to say how you can get to it, and we're going to give it away while we are on hiatus. So we'll do an Avatar, a Rorqual, and we'll have runner-ups for the podcast listeners. The Avatar is grand prize, and for runners-up, I think. We have a bunch of blueprints for dreadnoughts and carriers, so we'll do a combination of maybe a couple of each, and that's what we're going to do for Talking in Stations, season 1 finale. That'll kind of spice. There's some fireworks, right?
Sounds like it.
I'm shocked.
I didn't think
dropped.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to go.
I didn't even know that. I'm winging it. I didn't even know I was going to do that, but I'm going to do that.
You don't have a spare Avatar in your back pocket?
I don't have a spare, but what happened was I bought a Titan to get into it so that I could participate and stuff. And my corporation had a contract fall through and they were kind of stuck. And so I thought, well, basically somebody didn't want to pay for a Titan that they had ordered. And my guys had built it, and I felt bad for him. So I just said, I'll just buy it from you, whatever he was going to pay. So I was doing them a favor. I bought it and I never used it. I just had it. Yeah. So I have other things to give away. I'm not giving them away now, but maybe in later seasons we'll have comparable gifts. So maybe at the end of each season we'll do things like this. But today for this stream, Rorqual, and for podcast listeners, we'll find a way to raffle off an Avatar. Okay, so let's try to figure that out. But I want to talk about the season, what happened this year, like a little bit of review of like what some of these episodes were like. It's like, did you have a favorite?
I just wanted to say I liked that as you guys moved to doing the pure Talking in Stations, the amount of graphics and videos and how the visual part of the podcast was kind of much more interactive, where you could kind of see things and clips. It seemed to make a big difference in the way at least the watch and live went on Twitch.
Yeah, that's a large part of that. Yeah, large part of that is McLeod here, who's with us. He really enhances the show 50% or 100% because he's the one that's on the fly, just grabbing stuff as we're talking. So we get to talk about anything we want to talk about, and he's trying to run after us with imagery and throwing it on there and stuff like that, which is fantastic.
He takes us out of our Starbucks and puts us in these fancy worlds you see here.
Our Starbucks. Yeah, and to do that and fast, it really requires him to have a full-time awareness of what's going on. And he's tackling technical problems, and he's also sometimes responding to chat. So he's doing as much as we're doing on every show. It's just that we're in front of the camera and he's behind the camera. And plus, he's making last-minute adjustments to guests and stuff like that when they show up and put a camera on. It takes time to do that sort of stuff. So that's all McLeod by himself. But here's the thing I like most. McLeod is the one that puts the links into the articles because he's the one that flashes stuff up there. So every time you go to talkinginstations.com and look up an old episode, there's some description and there's the guest list and there's a video of the actual live. There's show notes, but at the end there, you see the links. Those are all McLeod. He puts all those in. And to me, that's what enhances the Talking in Station archive to much more than just like a recap of the show. It's actually a little bit of a research center. Like, what was that show on the Golden Magnet? Well, I'll go and look at it, and then you can actually click the links of all the pertinent information and really understand for yourself what happened. And I think that just really enhances it tremendously. So thanks, McLeod.
Oh, that's all right, dude. Like, I do my part, but it is also one of those things where I also have to hope and pray that the links still function at the end of the day. So, because that when, for example, when the Verite influence maps went down at one point, I had to go in and change a whole bunch of links in all of the various different things when it happened.
I didn't even think of that.
Do you remember
that?
that?
Horrible. I remember.
Well, yeah, he lost his server, his longtime server, and he changed servers, which means that all those old links were no longer functioning.
Also, I just wanted to say out there, this is going to be something that you may want to cut from the podcast, but this is the first time I'm trying out the giveaway kind of functionality in the thing. So if it doesn't work, I will say it doesn't that it didn't work in some way, shape, or form. And like, you know, you may have to kind of jump into like 2 or 3 giveaways just to iron out the kinks, as it were. Because I don't think this one that I just started is working quite as it should. We'll get
Is there okay, but these people who are typing in ticket,
yeah,
are they going to? Okay.
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I'm looking at the giveaway entrance, and there's nobody there. I don't know why.
Exardia, try for this, okay? Because if you get it, I'll help you fit it.
What?
I'm telling my buddy to try to get in this contest. That's probably totally unfair.
Okay, McLeod, sorry to surprise you. McLeod had no idea. I had no idea. And none of us had any idea that we were going to be doing giveaways. But so McLeod has put this thing.
It's a new thing.
Put this thing on still. Yeah, it's a new thing. And is it working or not? I'm not clear on if it is working or not.
It's not at the moment, but don't worry. I'll deal with it in the background. You guys just kind of roll on with whatever you want to roll on with. So it's all good.
Okay. So there, Eve's been changing. The podcast has been, or the show has been changing, getting better and better. I would argue that CCP's been changing a little bit in the last few months as well.
I think a lot.
Yeah. If you look at just say since November, when the deal with Pearl Abyss went through, okay, what has changed about CCP in that period of time? Say it's about 4 months, we'll call it. Well, first of all, a cloud of pressure has been lifted from their shoulders. They are now no longer under pressure. Upper management is no longer under pressure to come up with a liquidity event for their investors. Some of whom have been with them since the beginning. So that responsibility is now off their shoulders. That means that they no longer have to keep their books looking exceptionally beautiful every month or every quarter so that, they can attract a suitor. Now they just have to pay the bills. They can't, crash and burn, but they don't have to stay up all night the last few nights of each quarter trying to figure out how to make their numbers look as good as possible. So I think the results you see are a little bit fewer sales. I think the sales we see now are a little bit shorter, and it probably will be shorter as we go forward. And the discounts will be less steep. There'll be shallower discounts for a while because they make more money long term if they don't do very many of those sales. Well, the sales are helpful to bring in a new purchaser for the first time and stuff, get people to try something. But you also train all of your regular buyers to wait for a sale. And that's not good for your bottom line.
Well, and that's what happened. I think the sales last year were coming in heavy, right? Like every month or month and a half, there was some kind of a new pack that had the what do you call it? Multiple character training cards in it, and Plex and extractors, and those kept hitting over and over and over again. And really, you saw a major suppression in Plex prices. They were down to 2.7 million each.
And likewise, that might be part of the mixture of factors that's affecting the price of Plex in game at the moment.
In what sense? That those sales aren't there anymore?
They're not creating additional availability of Plex inside the game because they're not bringing in the larger blocks because people are waiting for the next sale. So that may mean that that Plex are a little bit more scarce in the game than they should be, and that's part of the reason the in-game price in ISK is so high. Personally, as someone who mostly funds his EVE gameplay from buying Plex with a credit card and selling them on the market, the price of Plex being high is good for me personally. But it's not good for my alliance. It's not good for the game. Good for the game, I believe, is long-term stability as much as possible.
Well, is it good for, I heard that one of the strategies was that it's tax time, tax season, and a lot of players are going to get tax money back in America. And that money always feels like a little bit of a bonus because it's, you weren't expecting it. So it feels like it's a little bit extra. And so they want to keep Plex powerful or high so that when you actually buy Plex, you get some value in game for your real money. Does that make any sense? Is that just complete tinfoil?
I only have personal anecdotes to go on that, but I do believe we see a little bit more large Plex purchasing. There are two ways to buy Plex for real money from CCP. I will remind people of this for a moment. You can either buy it through the account management software or through a partner as Plex. You can buy it through Amazon. You can buy it through secure.eveonline.com. Or if you need to buy Plex in large increments, more than $500 or 500 euros per transaction, then that's the, I don't know if I'm saying too much, but the credit card processing partners agreement with CCP allows them to go up to 500 euros or $500 per transaction. They can't sell you $1,000 of Plex at the same time with a credit card. So if you want to buy large amounts of Plex, there's a little link with an email address in your account management system on the Plex page. And that email goes to a finance person at CCP. Wonderful person. You'd like her. And she will send you a bank transfer, wire transfer form, and you can wire large amounts of money from your bank account in the US to their bank in Iceland. It's not overnight. It's not instant. You need to be patient. If it's the first time you're sending it, it's going to take you something like 3, 4, 5 business days. And then she'll say, okay, sir, we have a large block of money here for you. Which character in game would you like us to give the Plex to? And then she gets up from her chair in finance and goes down to the customer service level. And she says, see this character? Give this man X thousand Plex or whatever it is. And then that person magically has that added to their account. I believe that's perfect, Dunk. Perfect. I believe that activity spikes around tax refund season. But that's actually a small portion of all Plex sales, I believe. I'm out of touch now. I haven't been there for a while. But that's how many of you in the audience did not know you could do that? Don't do it. It's addictive.
McLeod, where are we on this?
Giveaway's working, by the way. So you
Okay,
need to
giveaways were-
you need to enter !ticket 1 to get into the giveaway.
All right. So those that aren't watching chat, the instructions are, McLeod?
You basically type into chat !ticket 1 or !ticket space 1.
This is like a large fleet op in the Imperium.
Yeah, I can see.
Some people are doing it perfectly. Some people are aligning to the wrong gate. I love it.
By the way, you can only get 1 ticket into it. You can't get multiple tickets into it. I reduced it so there's only 1. So you can enter 1 time, but so you don't have, nobody has like more chance of winning.
There is no 1 Titan. So it's ticket 1, not 1 Titan. I don't particularly like giveaways. I feel like it's kind of, I don't know. It's like breads and circuses.
It's a bit
Right?
cliche,
You're throwing
isn't
bread
it?
into the audience. Yeah. I don't like this stuff. I honestly don't. If I
It's
could
a
give
lot
you
of
all-
fun. It's a lot of fun. People,
Is it? All right.
It is a lot of fun. You're super space rich, so it doesn't matter to you. But to a lot of these people, if they were going to win this Titan or win any of this stuff, it's huge for those people. So don't be so space rich. Be like
It's
the little
not-
person.
It's not an issue of space rich. I feel bad that only one person gets a thing and then everybody else didn't. But you know, or I feel like I'm tricking them into subscribing, or I'm tricking them into being fans, or I'm tricking them, and I don't like that feeling. Like I'm not.
But you're not.
I
You're
want
not
to.
you're being generous. So just
All right, I'll chill out.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's good to be generous. Good to be generous. Share the wealth.
You know who's good at this is Dirk McGurks. He's good at.
Oh, hell yes.
He's really good at being generous. So open comms, like during Christmas time, he's like giving out all kinds of stuff.
Well, you just got to wait about 6 hours into like open comms when it's like 2 a.m. for him, and then he's just giving away everything. It's hilarious.
You're going to give this to someone who can't afford the jump fuel to move it.
No, we'll put in fuel. How's that?
Just so just FYI, so you know, this giveaway is for the Rorqual BPCs.
Yeah.
This isn't this isn't for the Titan. The Titan is for everybody, including people who listen in podcasts as well. So
Yeah, podcast listeners, we have to figure out how we can collect. Maybe our. Sorry that we're brainstorming in front of you, but this is behind the scenes talking in stations, which is cool for a season finale, right? This is the only time we can get away with it.
well, we always
But
do
I'm thinking-
specials, and like it's always kind of a little bit more casual than kind of structured. So it's all good, right?
Yeah, I hope you guys bear with us. What we can do is maybe use our our newsletter mail list as a pot, right? Because it's free and it's no obligation. You just sign up for our newsletter, and then we can use that sphere to. So anybody who's going to sign up for the newsletter, is there any problem with that?
We should try to pick out the problems before we say it to the guests on the show.
Yeah. All right. We'll work it out. We have a little bit of time. But right now we're concentrating on Rorqual. Did you say Rorqual Blueprints?
BPC?
Is that what this one?
I think that's what you were going to be giving away, right?
Well, there's a Rorqual, and then there's 2 Rorqual BPCs.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one will be let's just do the Rorqual first. That sound okay?
Yeah.
All right. So this one you're in. This is the Rorqual, and please don't miss out if you're watching this live. We appreciate you coming live. It really helps. So put in your !ticket space 1 right now inside a chat. If you've already done it, you don't need to do it a second time. If you're not sure, just do it just to be sure.
I may have to change the name of this because I put Rorqual BPC giveaway. It's all right.
We're amateurs at this, but it's fine.
If you want to carry on,
Yeah, we'll talk about something else, and while people do this, I just want to make sure everybody has like a fair chance and everything's up and fair. Okay. All right. So the season, there's a couple things going on here. One is, besides this little giveaway that we're doing, there's a couple things going on. One is, how has CCP changed in the last few months, especially since the purchase of them by Pearl Abyss? And the second thing is, how has the show evolved? And maybe we can ask the audience like how they would like to see it evolve.
Here's another part about CCP changing.
Yeah.
There were some hiring decisions they didn't want to make until they knew if the November deal actually closed. And those unlocked with the news that it finally sold. So they were able to do some hiring in November, December, January, February. Now, some of it they would have hired. It wouldn't have been affected by the decision. Others of it, they were just being a little bit careful and staying cautious. So there are a few more people working at CCP than there would have been. So this is another good thing. Has our game been affected? Not on the design side, technology side, customers, none of that stuff has been affected by the acquisition. The business side, obviously cutting back on sales, one could argue that affects the game mildly, but not the design of it.
Well, I was thinking that it feels like this the balance pass changes that are coming, those very much to me seem like CSM changes, don't they? Like this
CSM related,
yeah.
But Pearl Abyss does not have a seat on the CSM. A little bit of humor
exactly.
There. The game design related, the game design team came up with that. There might have been some push from upper management looking at the monthly economic report saying, hey guys, does this look healthy to you? I mean, Dr. Ao's not there anymore to give the economists a viewpoint of it, but he taught his guys some of his magic, and they can all look and see a certain amount. I put the link back in the broadcast if you want to put it up.
Mm-hmm.
McLeod, but you have your hands full.
Say what?
None of those changes in that balance pass for spring have anything to do with Pearl Abyss. None of them.
Yes,
doubt anyone at Pearl Abyss even knows.
You got really quiet for some reason.
It's all good. You're back.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Maybe I'm not pushing the button very well. Okay, so yeah, that's all I can come up with for changes for CCP. Now, they do have Amsterdam coming up. When is that again?
What's the story with them moving buildings to another building? I was just like, I heard
That's
something
not
like
built
this the
yet.
last CSM meeting.
That's not finished yet. There is a new building being built. It's a long walk from the current building. If you're in the downtown area around Harpa, how do I describe where it is? It's a little bit longer walk. If you know where the reflecting lake is, it's over in that direction. It is, yeah, it's not ready yet, but they will move
We're
in.
over where all the geese poop on everything.
Well, geese have a right to life also. And the Finnish guy, I know who you mean. He was mostly focused on Dust 514 economy balancing when I worked there. He's not there anymore either.
Noisy in chat says they're building a technology park, so maybe that's where it's going. Noisy does his research.
He's right. The new building is in a technology park, and for the Icelandic culture at large, for the Iceland community at large, they think of CCP Games as being one of their premier technology companies in Iceland. So if you're going to build a technology-focused business park, the most glamorous guest you can get to come and get space in it and create a halo effect for the rest of your technology park, you'd want CCP.
Yeah, but where it is now, it's next to like a giant rotting boatyard, like with boats up on blocks and stuff like that.
That museum is a Pokemon Pokestop. I love that place. And they serve beer in the afternoons and pastries. There's a lot to be said for that.
Well, there's shopping across the street. Every time we go, I end up having to buy my wife jewelry at the little silver shop across the street from CCP.
It's so neat that she travels with you for these things.
Yeah, she's a patient woman.
Is there any jewelry shops near the technology park I got to worry about?
I don't know. The main drag, Loyavir, just send her shopping on that.
We're talking about Amsterdam, right?
Nay. We're talking about Reykjavik at the moment.
Reykjavik.
But Amsterdam's coming up too.
All right. How soon can we do this?
I can close it now and we can do it. I'm not entirely certain whether we can do multiple winners. We'll see. But even so, let's close it now.
You can do them all at once. That sounds like a good idea. And that way people don't have to. You would just pick 3, I guess, in a certain order.
I mean, I guess we can pick multiple winners. I don't know. It just says draw a winner, so it'll be what it'll be.
Well, hold the drum roll. Question. So, Matterall, are you going to apply for a community manager position? The answer is no for various reasons. But I presume that, and I think Dunk would be great at it, but I presume he'll say no too. It's just those are things that are kind of for young and ambitious people to travel and to live and stuff like that. When you get older and have a family and stuff like that, it's a whole different ballgame.
Okay, let's draw this then.
All right, McLeod, it's all on you.
Okay, well, we got Gaia Double Ice. And I can I can draw multiple winners as well. So how many have we got to go?
So that was the first drawing, right?
Yep.
Okay, congratulations to
Gaia Double Ice.
Gaia Double Ice, you won a Rorqual. We'll fuel it and we'll put it somewhere for you. So congrats. We're going to draw 2 more times. Each one will be a BPO. Sorry, not BPO, BPC, but well-researched BPC for Rorquals.
Second one is Smurf Hurdle 1.
Now, making it clear, those are Rorqual BPCs. They're copies, but they're researched copies. And I think they're researched up to 8 or 9, so it's pretty good. Congratulations to Smurfherder. I've heard that name.
Always be heard in the Smurfs.
And do the third one.
And it is Dusky Pence.
Dusky Pence. All right. I want to say thank you to those 3 winners. Congratulations to them. They won a Rorqual, and each of the runners-up got a BPC. I always get these wrong. BPC for Rorquals as well. But I want to say thank you to everybody who's here today and listening. You guys are the ones that keep us coming back every Sunday. This is the season finale. We'll be taking a break for 2 weeks, and we'll be back after that for season 2.
Yep.
For our podcast listeners, I want to thank you for listening too. You've been the most loyal and followed us the longest. You've been with us for 3 years almost, and we've been doing hundreds of shows per year. I'll tabulate, and I should have done that for this show, tabulate just how many shows we've done, but it is a lot.
I just want to say, if you want to, if you've won, So Gaia Double Ice, Smurf Hurdle 1, and Dusky Pants, if you could private message me in Twitch, like just basically PM me with your in-game name, and I'll forward that to Matterall.
Okay, so that ends the first, the live drawing. But we were going to have a second drawing that's even bigger, and we're going to try to find a way. It's not going to be I'm not going to make you do anything. I just want to find a way to collect the names of people that, a pool basically of people who listen to the show. So we'll have to set something up, maybe something, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. We need to collect your names so that we can have a pool, and then we'll pull from the pool. Otherwise, there's no way to know. We just have statistics that tell us who's listening, how many people are listening to it, but it certainly doesn't tell us who's listening to it. So we'll have to find a way. Maybe we'll do it on the website. I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, let me know.
I have to do a couple of quick things so they can
Sure,
actually
no, you do your thing.
Keep going though. It's all good.
What's next on our agenda?
Real quick question. Any chance I'll interview CCP Guard? We certainly wanted CCP Guard after it was announced that he was leaving, and he appreciated the invite, but he said he didn't want to draw any attention to himself while he's leaving. So I have a feeling he's really wanting to play it down, although everybody wants to really thank him and make sure that we have a nice review of the stuff that he did and stuff like that. But he wants to play it down, so there's no interview with CCP Guard on his departure. Maybe later when he's a player again.
He's a humble man.
I said this before. I don't know if it was on a show or one of our chill streams that we do, that he got the special ability to be positive and inclusive. So even if you come at him with bitterness, he'll find a way to not only deflect it with kindness and happiness or optimism, but to include the guy who's bitter. So it's not like he's only going to talk to people that are happy about EVE Online. Even the people who are dissatisfied from time to time or upset about something, he ropes them back in, and that is a magical power, really.
It is. It's a mark of a professional. I hope his new employer understands what they're getting.
Yeah, a whole nother industry, but I wonder what it'll be. Maybe he's actually going into the entertainment business finally. Yeah. You know what's funny? I hadn't noticed this, but as soon as we had like one person who was, and it was Brisk actually, Rorqual, who was kind of like auto hosting us. As soon as we did giveaways, now we have like 8 or 9 people go auto hosting us. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. But giveaways are a powerful thing. I'm realizing giveaways are a powerful thing.
Surprise.
You know what we should do? Another brainstorm on. I'll section off a chunk of money, and it'll just be like a TIS trust, and then I'll hand that over to somebody on TIS so that I'm not involved, and we can just slowly like deplete that in fan appreciation stuff. Maybe we'll start with like, I don't know what would be fan appreciation for season 2. We'll work this out, but it'll be tens of billions at least. And then we'll just use all that ISK to do smaller gifts, not these major ones, but smaller gifts for more people. And that would be okay. If it's all fan appreciation, I don't mind giving the ISK away. I just don't want to feel like a casino or anything like that.
Nah, you're not, dude. It's all good.
Well, let's go real quick. I'm going to look at Talking in Stations and go through some of the episodes, and then we can wrap up. By the way, is it too much to ask? I hope it's not a problem. If you guys are listening, and if you're on a podcast and listening, again, we have like 2,000, 3,000 podcast listeners. TIS Discord has about 2,000 people in it, a little over 2,000 people in it. So there's some people who are not in Talking in Stations Discord, and I understand. I wouldn't want to be in a Discord either if I didn't have to. But I encourage you at least to get into Talking in Stations Discord so that maybe we can use that as a pool of people to draw from. So if you're a listener and you're not on Talking in Stations Discord, it's hard for me to know how to pull your name out of a hat. And I'm not going to collect emails, like I said before. We're not going to collect our news list that we're going to send out. So you don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to do anything. But I do need to find out how I can get in touch with you if you're to put you in this pool. So I would say Talking in Stations Discord. If you can get into there, we can probably draw from that population.
I imagine that's probably a very good way of being able to do it, to be honest.
I'm going to put that into, of course, you can always get through it at talkinginstations.com, but I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to put the link in there.
Okay.
The Talking in Stations website had a lot of improvements over the past few months also. Got some organization going there, and the Discord has improved as well.
Oh, the Discord's improved amazingly, to be honest.
And if you only watch us on Sundays, I will point out that we do have a midweek show on Thursday nights. It is a little bit, has a little bit cozier feeling to it. And it's great. It's a nice compliment for this. And then we also have ad hoc live streams during the week. Matterall will have a little time, or someone will get their super cap fleet tackled, and we'll spin up a stream for it. It's great.
Yeah, live coverage, which we may do today because it's going to be a big, big fight in Derelik later on as multiple forces collide over the fate of a Keepstar in low sec.
You do understand that if it turns out to be a really big fight, I'm going to be really aggravated that we don't have the 64-bit client already.
Right. We demonstrated that, McLeod and others. It's just it's going to change visualization of big battles so dramatically that it's going to essentially make EVE watchable, finally. And not only watchable, but really engaging.
Oh, totally.
In fact, it won't be too far off from our opening. If you've seen our opening for the show, it's very dramatic with big ships, and you get right up to the cannons and you see the difference between a Rifter and a Nag, and it's just like huge amount of scale and perspective, and it's inspiring. That's going to be what the future of live fights are. You're going to be able to get in there, get close to the cannons, and just see the scale and difference in ship sizes and stuff. So it's going to change things dramatically. That's the 64-bit client that's coming in this early summer.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to it because not only does it allow you to, dive right into the action, but it also it's a lot of it's to do with stability as well. Like, so, the ability for people to stay in the game, like not disconnect because of their client. And for people streaming the big fights, it means that we don't have to rely on multiple people potentially giving us, backup cameras. We can pretty much be confident that a single camera will stay in the fight, from beginning to end, which is really like it's a night and day difference.
All right, so looking at the Talking Stations, I think we've had some very momentous moments. Did I just say that?
Momentous moments. Yes, you did.
I think, is that proper? Oh.
Doug, you should have had a soundboard one for that one.
Well, I think this is probably our most well-prepared episode I've heard in a while.
We're not
Scathing.
prepared at all because we're doing it all in front of you. But I will go back and look at just a few days ago, we had Katya's Voyage, which was a really spectacular episode about Katya, who had completed after 9 years flying to every system that a player could fly to, which has never been done, of course. And that was fantastic, including wormholes, which are very difficult. So that was on March 11th. Then we definitely covered a lot of CCP news. We covered the deployment of initiative attacking NC, which was something that happened in late February. We also talked about in Russian versus Chinese time zone. We talked about the new creation of a Russian coalition that was amassing on the border of the Chinese Winter Coalition, primarily Chinese. There's other groups there too. We're also able to talk about the Alliance tournament. That was kind of an impromptu. The lack of Alliance tournament this year, so we talked about that. We covered moon mining and some of the effects that it had, and CCP Fozzie joined us for that, and he did a massive Q&A after the show that we published that as well. That was all mid-February. We also covered the test deployment to attack Horde, and essentially their pivot away from that zone or retreat, however you want to characterize it. We did a review show on January 28th for BTAC-R. It was 5 years, pretty much to the day. And we had some people who participated in it, including the Russian point of view. So check that one out, January 28th episode, BTAC-R 5RB, 5 years later. We covered the black market Fortizar that went up in Providence, and it's basically a little pirate market for pirates who want to raid Providence, which is kind of funny. And we covered, the stuff that CCP put together, Permafrost, and the Gala, Guardians Gala. So we covered both those and some of the disappointing aspects of it, but also how they managed to recover it. And we also covered some bad news, which was like when Local went down and was destroyed for a day or two. In fact, because of the new chat system, everybody that has had an account in the last year, I guess last year, was able to have 500,000 SP attached to their main character. And that's it. The last thing we did or the first thing we did was Headliner came around to talk about Pandemic Legion. So we had a nice interview with him, and we demonstrated Abyssal Running at level 4, which was a big money maker. And that is essentially a tutorial. So if you wanted to learn how to make money using Abyssal Space, January 3rd's episode called Abyssal Run is what you want to look for. And we have some of those fits that were used on the show notes, but also new fits that have been put in TIS Discord, so you can check those out as well. And that is what Season 1 looked like. Season 2 is anybody's guess because we don't know what players are going to do. We do know at this point, though, that tensions are really high in the south between Winter Coalition and Legacy Coalition, so we expect some thing to break out there. And we know that the 64-bit client is going to hit in summer, so we're looking forward to that. But it's been pretty good.
There's been some things that just haven't occurred that need to occur. Like the Prime A is still an unrebalanced ship, and you still can't get T2 salvage drones. So I think those are some big detriments for this first half of the year.
Can you still get a Prime other than the ones that were in that giveaway when they launched the Tyrannus expansion? I think that's the only way you get them, is if you had an account for the Tyrannus expansion, it got put in your delivery system.
Didn't know.
Yeah, I don't believe there's a blueprint you can get, but they're not hard to come by. And Moonor is way too big, and so this is a natural combination right here.
I just dragged in Killah Bee. I don't know if he's actually there, but
Yeah, I am. I was just waiting for the post-show talk. I was gonna join that one.
real quick though, we're going to end right now. But
Yeah.
what's going on today in Kamal?
I think Snuff. Yeah, it was Snuff who reinforced the Purple Helmet Warriors, Keepstar and Kamal, and it's coming out tonight, 21:30, final timer. Init moved their supers from Fountain to be in range, which is interesting. And Snuff moved theirs as well to be in range. So, yeah, has some potential. Obviously, having the Initiative and the Snuff super fleet in range, and nobody else of significance has moved their supers in range. So that already, sort of deletes some options of how the fight could go, because it's basically going to be an uncontested super fleet of Snuff and Init. But we'll see. Yeah, should be interesting. Pretty much everybody's forming for it, so yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie,
Huh?
Killah, but we've had supers in have a tragic situation before them before, so you never know.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it'll be a lot of people. I'm not sure if the notes in reinforce, so I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to it yet or not, because I feel like it's going to be a massive shit show of tie-dye, but we'll see.
All right, something's going down. 21:30 in Derelik, and the system is Kamal.
I have a Titan that keeps up, by the way, but I'll just let it asset safety. I already made that decision.
Why would you have a Titan in Kamal?
It's just a Southern Bridge Titan. I have Titans all over Eve for bridging, and one of them is in there, and yeah. So it's all right. It's a bit of, I don't know, what's 20% asset safety, so it's going to cost me like 5 bill, 6 bill, some shit like that. It's fine.
That's right. It's going way down. Well, thanks for filling us in on that last bit. Let's call it quits and jump into public chat and talk with audience members. We're going to announce on the podcast. If you're a podcast listener, we'll put instructions on how to win that avatar that we're going to give away this week, or this next week.
This is exciting.
Are you giving away an avatar?
Yeah.
Ooh, how do I participate?
Listen to the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, you will hear instructions on how to participate. We're trying to decide how to do that.
All right, that's fair enough.
All right. In the meantime, we're going to hang out, public chat, Discord. We're gone for 2 weeks, so we will see you in a couple of weeks. But hang out in TIS Discord with us. We'll be around. If live stuff goes on, we'll be ready to cover it as well. The non-TIS stuff, the Matterall streaming, the chill streams that happen in the around this time during the week, Tuesday, Thursday, those are still going to continue as well. All right. Anything else? Anything else you guys want to mention?
Just expect a lot of things will happen in the 2 weeks while we're gone. March 23rd and 24th is the Amsterdam event. I expect CCP to have some announcements for it. And then we'll talk about what's going on when we come back. Is it April 7th? Was that the date?
I don't know, but we'll
the,
publish it. Use a calendar.
April 7th.
I think it is the 7th. Yes, I think it is the 7th. But in the podcast, again, we'll have the correct date and the correct time that when we'll go back. I'll make a little announcement and put it out for podcast listeners and stuff. But stick with us in Talking in Stations Discord. That's where you get all the information. That's where we have our conversations. And that's where we'll see you now in public chat. Thanks, everybody, for showing up today. Sorry the show was very rambly. I take responsibility for that. That's why we're taking a break. We need to reorganize.
So use next weekend with no TIS to have a local meetup. Just choose a place, call it, get out on social media, and have a meetup next weekend.
Yeah, and he's talking to you, the audience. Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. We will see you in 3 weeks. That's the end of season 1. We'll start season 2 sometime in April. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, Dunk. You're out on voice, by the way. Soundboarding on Dirk. I mean, Dunk has like an amazing soundboard. Not gonna lie. Yep. Oh god.